Hi everyone and welcome for this Apitherapy video. This time we'll be talking about creativity and health and bees, all that put together under a very specific point of view. Actually, I'll be presenting you another really good friend of mine. I did in a previous video, I talked a lot about Adrian Thibault, which was the first president of the Canadian Apitherapy Association. Now I'll be presenting another friend, Marion Courmont, which is a great artist. She's just amazing. She did so many things. She was involved in theater quite a bit, and then she's doing a lot of drawing since a really long time, and now she's doing natural fabric tincture, and this is amazing what she's doing with the fabric and the natural tincture. Like, she's using plants to do those natural tinctures. It's just not like natural plant that she's actually picking out in the wild. This is just fascinating. So I'll be putting her links in the description. So Facebook link as well as Instagram link. Her Instagram account is quite active. You should follow that for sure. That's just amazing. So she's now in France. So if you want some of her work, it is available. So you can contact her for sure through her Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, she's more in Europe. Yeah. So today, that apitherapy, like the work with bees and creativity and so on, it's a very specific piece of art that has been made a little while ago. Actually, it's actually that other friend, Adrien Thibault, that did a special concept of connecting all the main 7 chakras of the human body, of humans, with the bees, with the work of the bees. This is really interesting. I heard that very few times, and what he did with that concept was really interesting. And actually, Marion Courmont, this other artist friend, she actually made that into drawings. So we created 7 nice, really beautiful cards. By the way, if you want those cards, if you want to purchase those cards, they're available on my website if you're in America. If you're more in Europe, you can actually contact Marion Courmont and you can have them through her in Europe. So there we go. Let's go through those 7 cards and those 7 connections together. I'll just present you a little bit the idea behind each piece of art. And of course, there's more that would need to be said about all those. But, you know, as ever, with a piece of art, you cannot say everything because it's something alive. Everybody will perceive something different a little bit in each vision that we have. So let's start with the first card, the root chakra, which is color red. And the root chakra, of course, is connected to our roots, basically. That simple. And if you go in the world of bees, of course, the plants, the flowers, well, that come from trees and plants of all kinds, they all have roots, and that's where they get their water and nutrients. And this is quite important to follow, you know, that the flow of life through things. So the plants need the water in order to produce nectar. You know, when there's a big drought, there's no water for a while, well, the plants won't produce much nectar anymore. So they need those roots well in a fertile, moist ground in order to be able to produce a lot of nectar, to give that nectar to the bees so that the bees can make the honey. And then if we work with the bees, we can then harvest some honey as well. So you see the flow of energy of life that goes through the roots of the plants and on. So that's the idea of connection with the root chakra, the bees, and us. And yeah, all this. So now let's look at the second chakra. Now this time it's the sacred chakra, and this has a lot to see with reproductivity. So of course, that is really obvious. You know, the bees, they pollinate the flowers. So that's exactly that topic. And so that one, it's shown in the picture. The bees are going to get the pollen on the flowers. And of course, they go from flower to flower, pollinating all those flowers. So basically, The bees are acting as love messenger from flower to flower, and they actually fertilize all those flowers. So we see how they're connected with that sacred chakra, that reproductivity chakra, and we see through that pollen how that all those love messages have been passed on for years and years. We're talking about billions and billions and trillions and so many times that happened in nature. So the bees really know well that energy of life, of reproductivity. They work with it in a very subtle way, working with the plants like this. So this is just amazing. The connection is there on a very high level, and this is just so beautiful. Let's have a look at the third one. Now this is the third chakra, is connected through our solar plexus, and this is also yellow. And of course we think about the sun, and that's why on the card you see it's a flower that looks a bit like a sun, and the bees are actually, their orientation system is based on the sun. So they actually have the two regular eyes that everybody knows they have, but they also have 3 eyes on top of their head that helps them for orientation with the sun. And this is quite fascinating that the bees have this. They're really connected to the sun. Of course, they usually fly when it's sunny outside for many reasons. The main one is actually that when it's rainy, well, the bees cannot go out, because imagine a drop of water coming down from up above, hitting a bee. It does have a strong impact on the bee. So that's just the main reason. But then other than this, the bees are really having their orientation system based on the sun and those 3 special eyes, 3 eyes, third chakra. You see there's a few connections there. And also the bees, they are just, you know, they fly always on the sunshine. So they fly always on that bright light that is, we see it a lot as yellow. Like we see the sun as being yellow, and we see that brightness. For us, it's like that yellow light everywhere, and they just fly through all this, and all their orientation is there made on that sun. And for us it's the same thing, because we also have some kind of orientation based on our third chakra, which is our solar plexus. When our solar plexus is just, you know, opened up and expanded fully, and it's just, well, like we are happy, well, we feel happy, and we like that, and we usually tend to follow the path where we feel, you know, expanded and happy and opened up. And when we are like stressed out and, you know, like not very open, well, then we tend to not go in the directions where we feel like that so much. So same thing, our solar plexus can be used for us same way, just for our own orientation in life, towards which direction we're heading. So yeah, a few connections there as well. So now let's have a look at the fourth chakra, which is the chakra of the heart. And now on that one, we've put the queen bee at the very center of the card, and also at the center then of the beehive. Why? Because if you look at a beehive and you consider it as being one being, only one being made of many bees, up to, I don't know, a usual beehive would be between 30,000 and 50,000 bees. So a lot of bees in there. But if you consider that this is one being, and that the queen bee is actually the soul of that being, of course the queen bee can change from year to year, from time to time. That can happen, but there's always one queen bee in a beehive, and it's a little bit like the channel of the soul of the beehive, which is there. Of course, if there's no queen bee in a hive, that beehive will eventually extinguish, die, because there won't be any new babies, and yeah, that changes the whole thing. Of course, if the soul leaves, well, what's left of the human? Same thing with the beehive. If the queen bee leaves, if you don't have a new queen bee coming in, there won't be a channel for that soul, so that full beehive will eventually die. And this is also connected to our heart. Why? Because, you know, our heart is pumping the blood in our whole system. Well, then the queen bee, as she's laying all those eggs, you know that she's laying up to 2,000 eggs a day in full season. Well, eventually, all those eggs, they represent new bees coming in and there will be like workforce that will make things flow in the beehive. It's just like blood. It's a little bit like she's pumping that life cycle in the beehive by laying all those eggs. So you see the connection there is really strong as being the soul of the beehive and that pump of the life flow going inside the beehive, really connected with that fourth chakra. Okay, so now let's have a look to the fifth chakra card, and this one is connected to our throat chakra, and this is then connected to sound, to our word when we speak, our speech. And the bees have this special humming that they make, this buzzing that we hear. When we hear bees, we hear that buzzing. And when you're next to a beehive, you hear it. You can hear it sometimes pretty loud. And that buzzing has the same quality of vibration as the mantra Om. So that Om mantra is actually, it's kind of dissolving all negative vibrations and energies to make a basis of energy that is neutral and that it can now become harmonious. So that fifth chakra of the word connected to the bees, to that sound of the bees, that's why we've put that note there on the card. It's that beauty of harmony that the bees bring around them. And it's exactly what they do. Wherever you see a beehive, there's some kind of specific harmony there. And through their sound, we hear it and we feel it. And this is just amazing from the beehives. And we certainly hope, as human beings, that we are able to do the same with our word, that our words are bringing peace around us, that they are actually flattening and dissolving any negative energy around us, that we're able to neutralize all those, and then real harmony can then take place. Let's have a look now at the sixth chakra. The sixth chakra is the chakra of the third eye. And that third eye is quite amazing. You know, very often we talk about, oh, there's the good and the evil, and they fight all the time. But up above them, there's kind of a third energy watching over the good and the evil. There's some kind of wisdom up there that is somehow make things work out all the time, even if those two are always fighting together. And it's a little bit like this. If you look at our eyes, there's the right and the left eye, and up above there's that third eye, which is really a center of wisdom, of observation, and that sees the whole picture, even the very subtle things, even the things from the past and the future. It's kind of an eye that sees everything. And that third eye is exactly how the bees are behaving, because they actually take care of a whole ecosystem just by their role as pollinators, and also having a role where they actually hurt nothing by feeding themselves. They don't even destroy a leaf, not even a flower. They don't destroy flowers. They go on the flower and they collect that subtle nectar in it. So they don't destroy nothing in the ecosystem. And in the meantime, they propagate life in that ecosystem. So they really maintain life on a higher level without being involved into that cycle of good and bad, and I'm gonna eat you, and you know, like everybody eats the other one, right? We always think this way: to sustain my life, I need to eat that one. Well, the bees are out of that. They are up above on that third eye, sixth chakra energy, and they really look with a lot of wisdom to the real sustainability of that entire ecosystem without damaging it, but yet spreading life through it by pollinating all the flowers and sustaining diversity in that ecosystem. So this is the point of view of that sixth chakra, and you see how you see that ecosystem on the card with a third eye. It's very beautiful. Now let's have a look at the seventh chakra card. That one is connected to the pineal gland and the crown chakra, we call it. And this one is quite interesting, because you know that a queen bee is eating only royal jelly. And now, do you know how royal jelly is produced? It's produced by a gland called hypopharyngeal gland that the bees have just, you know, in their head, on top of their head, middle top of their head, let's say, and they secrete that royal jelly through that gland, and then it goes in their mouth and they feed it to the queen bee. So this is the food for the queen bee, and that changes the whole thing. You know, a queen bee comes from the same egg as a worker bee. The only difference is the queen bee has been fed only royal jelly, and that is actually triggering some genes in that queen bee, well, that future queen bee, let's say, and it will actually transform into a queen bee, which lives so much longer. A worker bee will live about 7 weeks in full season while it's very busy, and a queen bee can live up to about 7 years. We're talking about 52 times longer. A queen bee won't live always 7 years, of course, but it can go up to that, at least some years. So you see, it's another level. It's like, as we mentioned when we talked about the 4th chakra, the soul of the beehive. It sees in many incarnations our own life. So that's exactly the connection with the royal jelly in the 7th chakra, how when we use our 7th chakra, we're put into the vibration of our, let's say, our higher self compared to our ego, let's say. Our ego will last a life. Our higher self is there for many lives. And we connect ourselves through that 7th chakra with that higher self. And this is just a great connection with that royal jelly that is there to put us into the best conditions to be connected with that higher self. So you see all those connections with the 7 chakras of the human body and the bees that work with us on those chakras somehow, but by teaching us through nature a way to connect to those chakras and work with them, having some images from nature, real true images from nature, to understand better how our chakras work. And for me, putting this into art, as Marion Courmont did with the help of Adrian Thibault, this is just amazing. So again, if you like that work, you can find it on our website, Happy Culture Inc. Of course, the link is in the description. If you're in America, if you're in Europe or on the east side of America, then of course contact Marion Courmont. Again, I put her Instagram and Facebook links on the description. And don't forget that what she's doing there and with natural tincture with fabrics is just amazing. Have a look at that. If you look at her Instagram account, you'll see this is just beautiful what she's doing. Totally natural. We don't see that very often, but it's still possible. And some artists can still dare to do this. And anyway, that's just, for me, it's flabbergasting, and her work is just amazing. So thank you very much, everybody. And I hope you enjoyed that video. Of course, creativity is at the center of our own health. You might not hear that in more down-to-earth vision of health, but if you think about it, if your creativity is high, if you develop that part of yourself, you feel more healthy. And this is really important. So there you go. That's the connection for today. Hope you liked it. And again, I do encourage you to go and see all the work of Marion Courmont. She's just a great friend. She's just amazing. So yeah, thank you very much, and see you another time for another Apitherapy video.